You are an ordinary North Korean girl, born into a family of farmers. You're 28 years old, finished school, and served in the military for 4 years. During that time, you learned discipline, resilience, and how to survive in the harshest conditions. You were trained in basic hand-to-hand combat, learned how to use firearms, and became accustomed to the rigid structure of military life. But even the army couldn't prepare you for the reality of the world beyond North Korea. Life has always been confined to a small village near the Tumen River. Alongside your father, you work on a state-run farm, growing corn and potatoes, earning a monthly salary of 3,000 North Korean won. Roughly $4, barely enough to survive. The family trades part of the harvest for rice and basic goods. Each evening, walking down to the river to collect water, faint lights flicker on the opposite bank. That's China. Stories drift through the village. People there earn 100 times more, speak freely, and even watch foreign movies. One night, a friend whispers something that changes everything. His family secretly owns a smuggled TV, and he's seen South Korean dramas. He tells you that life there is like another world. They accept defectors from the north. There are cars that drive themselves, stores overflowing with food, and skyscrapers glowing with neon lights. One thought lodges deep in your mind. I want to go there, but how? Before 2010, the border with China was barely guarded. In some years, as many as 2,700 North Koreans made it to South Korea. But by 2024, that number had dropped to just 200. Now the border is reinforced with 2 rows of barbed wire and in some areas, surveillance cameras. Bribing a border guard has become much harder, especially if you're caught. And yet, the idea of escape begins to take hold, no matter the cost. What about the demilitarized zone? Crossing it is virtually impossible. It's one of the most heavily fortified borders in the world, lined with landmines, reinforced barriers, and endless patrols of armed soldiers under strict orders to shoot to kill. Anyone attempting to cross it either dies or ends up in a prison camp. What about escaping by sea? Also a dead end. You'd need a boat, and even approaching the water without permission is illegal. Barbed wire fences line the beaches, and coastal patrols are relentless. Out in open waters, you risk running into North Korean or South Korean naval ships. If they catch you, you're either arrested or worse. What about crossing into Russia? That route is nearly impossible too. North Korean and Russian border guards work together, and locals often report anyone suspicious. Even if you do make it across, you'll be detained without documents and sent straight back. The only realistic path is China, but that comes with its own dangers. The Chinese government doesn't recognize North Koreans as refugees and routinely deports them back. Still, if you can reach a third country, there's a chance. A narrow, desperate chance. At this point, there's only one option left. Take the risk. You pack what little you have, some food, water, and a bit of money. One last look at your home. No words, just a tight embrace and a long, silent glance. Then you disappear into the night. Getting to the river isn't easy. You move under cover of darkness, cutting through dense forest. Guards patrol the area from time to time, and one careless step could give you away. You freeze in the shadows when you spot silhouettes in the distance. Soldiers standing still, scanning the area with flashlights. You wait. Minutes feel like hours. Finally, you make it to the river. The water is freezing, the current strong. You've chosen this crossing point in advance, but fear still grips your body. The icy water shocks your skin, stealing your breath. You cling to rocks, fighting to stay upright. Step by step, you push forward. You move faster, ignoring the numbness in your hands and feet. Just a few more meters. Finally, you reach the other side, gasping for breath, shaking from the cold. You're in China, but this is only the beginning. You have a contact, a North Korean family living just across the border. Many crossed into China during the famine of the late 1990s, fleeing starvation. They stayed, working and surviving. You walk for hours down dark trails, avoiding roads, dodging patrols. Your feet ache from the cold, but you keep going. Eventually, the faint lights of a village appear in the distance. You approach a small house and knock quietly on the door. It creaks open. A middle-aged woman peers out into the dark. You say your name. She stares for a moment, then quickly opens the door and motions you inside. The warmth hits you instantly. It smells like rice and dried herbs. You sit on a mat near the hearth, still trembling. The woman wraps you in a blanket. A few minutes later, she brings you hot tea.
Did anyone see you?
Asks the man of the house, an older gentleman with tired eyes.
I'm not sure. I heard dogs barking.
You're safe here. Tomorrow, we'll tell you what to do next.
The woman says. The next day, the couple explains the routes. One is through Mongolia, but it's dangerous. You'd have to cross the Gobi Desert, where daytime temperatures can reach 104 degrees Fahrenheit, 40 degrees Celsius, and drop below freezing at night. Many have died trying, never making it to the South Korean embassy. The other route is through Thailand. You'd need to travel the entire length of China, reach Laos, cross dense jungle, raft down the Mekong River, and finally slip into Thailand. It's longer but safer. And in Thailand, North Korean defectors can get help and eventually fly to Seoul. They give you some money for the journey, along with advice on how to get south. You thank them. Now you have a plan. It's time to move forward. Your new acquaintances explain that you'll need to move with extreme caution. Chinese police often stop strangers to check their documents, especially near the border. North Koreans caught without ID are almost always deported, which means a prison camp back home. The train is the safest option. Many defectors travel by rail because the trains are packed with migrant workers, and the police tend to check passengers less frequently. You're told to buy the cheapest ticket for the slowest train and blend into the crowd. You change into old Chinese clothes your host gave you, hide the money deep in an inner pocket of your jacket, and head to the station. Your heart pounds as you spot security guards on the platform. If they sense anything is off, this could all end here. When the train arrives, the rush of people pushes you on board. The carriage is noisy, the air thick with the smell of food and sweat. People are standing, sitting, and anywhere they can. You find a spot by the window and finally allow yourself a breath of relief. The trip takes several days and includes a few transfers. You move carefully, keeping your distance from anyone in uniform. One day at a station stop, two policemen board the train, notebooks in hand. They begin checking passengers' documents. Panicked, you lower your head and pretend to be asleep. Your heart is pounding so hard it feels like the whole train can hear it. The officers get closer. One of them asks a question to the elderly woman next to you. She answers briefly and shakes her head. Just as their footsteps come dangerously close, an argument breaks out in another part of the train carriage. The officers turn and head toward the noise. Eventually, you arrive in a town not far from the Laos border. In a border town in southern China, you find guides who you pay to help you cross safely into Laos. The journey will take you through thick jungle where mosquitoes, snakes, and the intense heat will be constant companions. You hike for hours, pushing through damp undergrowth, sometimes wading waist-deep through water. Eventually, you reach the Mekong River, the final obstacle before Laos. The guides find an old boat and explain that you'll have to cross at night when the chances of encountering a police patrol are lower. You climb into the boat and it begins drifting across the dark water. The current is strong, but the guides steer skillfully, avoiding dangerous areas. At last, you reach the Laotian shore. But a new danger awaits. Local police know that North Koreans often flee through this region, and they may demand a bribe. Two men in uniform stop you. They speak in Lao, then motion that they want money. Your guides had warned you this might happen. You quickly pull out the cash and hand it over. One of the officers nods and waves you on. You're free to go. You realize you've just completed another leg of the journey. Now it's time to make it to Thailand. You continue making your way through Laos and finally cross the border into Thailand. In Thailand, North Korean defectors aren't sent back. Instead, they're helped and eventually flown to South Korea through the embassy. You find a local church that assists people like you. They contact the South Korean embassy, and a few days later, they buy you a plane ticket. In just 5 hours, you'll land in Seoul, a city that until now only existed in your dreams. As the plane begins its descent, you stare out the window, frozen. Below you are thousands of glittering lights, endless rows of high-rise buildings and highways sparkling with moving cars. Your new life is about to begin. You step off the plane, your legs shaking. All around you are people on their phones, dressed in stylish clothes. Some are laughing, others rushing off to wherever they're headed. This is not the world you grew up in. You stand still for a moment. But staff from the Refugee Assistance Center are already waiting for you. The next few months are all about integration. They help you adapt, teach you how to use a smartphone, and show you how this new world works. Then comes work. You start earning money, not just for yourself, but to help bring your family out of North Korea too. Now you have a purpose, to make sure your loved ones can one day see this dazzling city for themselves, a place without fear where you're finally free.